Jami, I'm really excited to talk to you. One of the things that we've seen when we're coaching so many companies is that their biggest barriers to growing and scaling is that the owners and founders or the leadership teams have a real difficulty translating their knowledge across their companies.
It's really important that you as a business owner are not a bottleneck in your own growth. That is the most important thing that Trainual solves. You should not be the owner of all of the processes in your company.
Yeah.
Because if you are, that's a problem, whether it's in your head or it's in Trainual. And so really Trainual is a place to put all of the information about your business, from processes to policies, roles, responsibilities, who does what, who to go to for this question. And now with AI, you literally just ask it, who owns this? And it will tell you.
So in other words, Trainual is a system for managing human energy in an organization.
Yeah, and driving accountability in a big way. That there's a massive gap in the market for that. So Paul, why did you give Trainual a call?
The reason why we called Trainual is because one of the main friction points that we saw when working with so many construction companies is that even though we gave very simple, clear SOPs that had been benchmarked off of some of the top construction companies in North America, we found out that surprisingly, staff don't really like looking at paper, and they don't like looking at Google Docs. It's just, there's a lot of friction there and people don't want to read this stuff.
Yep.
And so we went out to the market and we researched all the training softwares out there and we tested them and found out that Trainual seemed to be the best option. So we went out to our network and we asked everybody we knew, does anyone know any decision makers in Trainual? We got an introduction and then begged for a meeting. And now you guys were gracious enough to give us the tools and space and time, frankly, over what turned out to be about a year to build a very comprehensive and simple and clear system for running a construction company in your platform.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a lot of bad information, I assume, out there of SOPs and how to do things that's either incomplete, not the right way. And so talk to me about what's the Highspire content specifically, what's in the Trainual account.
AI has been around for a few years now, and some of the people that we meet initially before they join have already tried to build many of their processes in AI. And one of the common things that we hear is that AI can be very, very long-winded. For example, if you ask ChatGPT how many procedures a project manager should follow to do their jobs, you're going to get between 40 and 60 procedures. And in actuality, there's about 7. One of the things that we do, that we follow, is the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the results that you get is due to 20% of the effort. And one of the rules that we have is that if we deploy a procedure to our community, it's 1 page, max 1.5 pages.
Yep.
Because we just want to compartmentalize what actually needs to be done to get the ball down the court. One of the reasons why we wanted to work with you guys is we said, let's take, for example, for project managers, many other roles that are in there, but for project managers, take those 7 procedures, bolt them into Trainual, and then give companies the opportunity to have a system where leaders can verify that staff are following those procedures. There's tests that they can take to improve on their capability and kind of knowledge and power and range in following those systems. And frankly, it's a system that is significantly easier to digest when you're reading the material because of how it's laid out. Your user interface is world class. It's very pleasant to look at, if I'm being honest. It's much more pleasant than reading a Word document.
Trainual is not just built sort of like on a whim, it's based on how people learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that typically is not, to your point, all text. If someone just sees a wall of text, especially in the construction field, they're not going to want to read it. And then all this work that you've done to create these SOPs and perfect the process, it falls flat right there. And so that's the gap that Trainual serves.
For a construction company to replicate what you guys have done with Trainual, they would need to have technical writers on staff and people who really understand the discipline and art of adult learning on staff, which they don't.
Yep.
Frankly, when we see people do it themselves, they've just sat down with the very few hours that they have remaining in the week, and they've just typed up what they think makes sense. And it removes a lot of the politics and frustration and friction that you see arise in an organization when you don't have a system like Trainual.
Yep.
to constantly reinforce the right way to do things. Jami, hey, I really want to thank you and your team for giving us this time and space to build this system in your platform. I think it's going to be really beneficial for all the companies that we work with.
And thank you for inviting us. You have built an incredible community of very successful owners, and we're excited to help further their growth.